Jira Prime here with a little video, and today I just want to go through an article from Cybertron.com, which I imagine a lot of you have seen at the moment, in regard to the news that Michael Bay is returning to the Transformers franchise to direct some films. So I'm just going to run through that article with you. But first of all, as always, I do have a Facebook page, Gojira Prime, where I do post images of the figures in my collection, links to any videos I do, and anything else I find of interest. So if you do have the time, do please find the page, hit like, hit subscribe, and do feel free to comment on anything I do post. So it's not just Michael Bay, but also Josh Cooley we're going to be talking about today. So in this article from Cybertron.com, the news has been breaking sporadically as whispers in Hollywood have finally gotten loud enough for us to get an idea of what is happening with the Transformers film franchise. After the poor performance of Transformers 1, Paramount decided to not continue with sequels to that film. However, they are still actively developing multiple live-action films. The G.I. Joe crossover movie is still on the table, with a writer attached but no director. Personally, I couldn't care less about a G.I. Joe crossover, and I don't think it's the direction they should be going with the franchise, unless they are planning to do a film series which incorporates both franchises, tying into each other quite a lot. But in general, I have no interest in crossovers. I have no interest in G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe is not my thing. So I'm kind of hoping they don't do this. There is a live-action film that Michael Bay is developing with Jordan Van Dina, where the former would be directing and the latter would be scripting. Paramount is also in talks with Josh Cooley, the director of Transformers 1, to direct a live-action Transformers film. Those three projects are all being developed at the same time, along with a few other rumoured Transformers projects which we have no info on. This comes to us from Puck News, which is the only independent Hollywood news outlet. The Michael Bay news was further corroborated by Jeff Schneider through his own sources. We want to be very clear here, although the goal is, of course, for these movies to be made, they are still at the developmental stage. With Transformers 1, we first had news of this stage in 2018, so this will take time to happen and may not even happen. There is no confirmation of any project greenlit aside from the GI crossover, though that too may never see the light of day. Also, Paramount has to have a film in active production by 2029 or else they lose the license. Below is the full reporting from Puck News on the matter. So we'll just have a look at this bit here as well. Bay misses the bots. Did you know that Michael Bay is developing a new Transformers movie at Paramount that he wants to direct? Bay, the author of Explosions and Upskirt Shots that defined the first 5 mega grossers, had sworn off directing the franchise since Shia LaBeouf's free movies. Transformers Last Night earned just $600 million in 2017. Which was big, but about half the gross of the previous installments. Yet the franchise has atrophied without Bay, and I'm going to disagree with that. I think the problem isn't, that Michael Bay hasn't been attached to the project. I think it's that other directors who have come in, or Paramount or Hasbro, just don't know which direction to take the franchise, and they basically just threw things up against the wall. So, the franchise has atrophied without Bay, and he himself has not reached these box office heights since even complaining recently about not being able to get movies greenlit. So maybe he's been typecast a little bit. Or it could be the fact that his movies cost a hell of a lot to make, and the Hollywood studios just don't have the confidence to throw that amount of money at things. Because let's face it, Hollywood is in severe problems these days. Bay approached the studio last year to come back as a hands-on producer and possibly director, and he's got writer Jordan Van Dina working on a script. It's one of 5 or so Transformers projects in development that David Ellison and Skydance will inherit when the Paramount sales close. Josh Cooley, who made last year's animated Transformers 1, which was a brilliant film, just closed a deal to pursue a live-action take. There's also a possible G.I. Joe Transformers crossover. I know a lot of people will want that, but I just have no interest in a crossover, and the studio has 2 separate ideas in early stages. Hopefully the Bay project will come together. It really is the perfect match of filmmaker and material. If you've seen Transformers 4 and 5, I would strongly disagree, and Paramount can take its time. The studio keeps the rights as long as a movie is in production by 2029. Now look, I am not going to piss all over Michael Bay and the Bayverse for the very simple reason Michael Bay brought Transformers into the mainstream in a massive, massive way. I thought the first three Transformers movies, especially the first one he did, were very, very good for what they were, which was sci fi action adventure movies. Yes, the plot was a little bit thin in some areas, but that is, I think, Michael Bay's biggest weakness. He is a fantastic action director. I cannot knock him for that because I've seen a number of his films over the years aside from Transformers, but he is not a world builder. He needs other people to come in and build the world for him, and then he can direct the films that way. I mean, the films, the live action movies, made an insane amount of money. The first Transformers movie cost $115 million to make. It made over $700 million. I mean, look at these numbers. $200 million made over $836 million. The third film cost $195 million. It made over $1.1 billion. Now, the problem is, we then get to the fourth film. It cost $210 million to make. It made over $1.1 billion, which is no small amount of money at the end of the day. But that was a terrible film, and that film started the decline of the movie franchise. As we can see with The Last Knight, it cost $217 million to make. It made 605 back, only half what it should have done. Bumblebee was a very good film. Made cost 135 million, made 467 million. So that was a success at the box office based on what it cost to make the film. Rise of the Beasts was an okay film, but it did not make its money back. It was a disappointment at the box office. In fact, I would go as far as to say it was a failure at the box office. Transformers 1, however, was a bomb at the box office because that film, I think, was put up for literally human sacrifice, I think, at the end of the day when it comes to the movie industry. Now, like I say, the first three Michael Bay films, I think, were solid for what they were. The first film especially. But the storyline and the plot elements through the movies was a little incoherent and didn't really gel up very, very well. I don't think Michael Bay was out to create a MCU or a DCEU type of film series at the time, however, so I can't really knock him for that. And like I say, I'm not going to piss on the Bayverse, at least the first three films, because it's done a lot for Transformers. It has brought it into the mainstream. It made it more popular than ever. I'm not going to deny that. But ultimately, I think if Michael Bay and Josh Cooley are making these films, then Michael Bay as the director for this, okay, great, no problem. He can make really good films. You cannot deny that. But he must not be in charge of the world building. Let someone who has the knowledge and experience to make an in-depth world do that, and he directs them. Also, these films have to tie in very, very well with either their own individual stories or a long-running plot thread through them. I mean, if Paramount wanted, if they did this right, with with good writers, storytellers, actors, and with Michael Bay involved as well, they could create something really, really good. But they have to put the time and effort into it. They cannot afford to just create some very expensive summer blockbuster movie which they hope is going to make their money back. They have to put the time and effort into it. What's more is, as well, Hasbro's not involved with this in any way, shape or form. So technically Paramount can do whatever the hell they want because Hasbro no longer has a financial interest in this, so they won't be sitting at the table. So we could be looking potentially at the beginnings of a multi-film franchise, very similar like the MCU, like the DCEU, which Michael Bay could head up for the first couple of films. But it cannot just be dependent on Michael Bay. It has to be bringing other directors as well, like Josh Cooley. Look, Josh Cooley did a fantastic job with Transformers 1, so we know he can make a good film. But yeah, I mean, I have no problem with Michael Bay coming back. as long as someone else is doing the world building and he's just handling the directing of the films. It could be good. It could be very, very good, and time will tell. Fingers crossed. But let me know in the comments section, are you excited for the possibility of Michael Bay returning back to the franchise? Or is this your worst nightmare? For me, I'm optimistic. I think he can do a very good job as a director, just not as a world builder. But let me know what you think in the comments section. Do please hit like, please subscribe, and thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video.